So this is the first module, and here we will be discussing about the best practices. That is, it gives you the introduction to the best practices on the cybersecurity structure. Okay, so here as you see, these best practices are mainly the recommended ways to make our security programs be more efficient. And these best practices will be like make sure we are utilizing our resources efficiently. So these resources means the resources, the manual resource, right? Our cybersecurity engineers, as well as the amount of cost, the expenditures, what we are putting to build those tools or build those security programs. We need to efficiently build our security programs, right? So that it will be beneficial to our organization, and it should also be the cost effective manner. Yeah. So for that, we need to follow the best practices. And you can see the exact informations on what to do, why to do, who should do, and how to do it. So these are the structured format. And we also need to implement a very high level principle to take an informed decisions on our actions. And also we need to have a guidelines that are part of our reference architecture, including the solution and how to integrating in our current environment. And it's a very basic thumb rule that security should align with our business goal. So this is related to the best practice and anti-patterns. So anti-patterns is a common mistake that we are following, which may lead to the negative outcomes. It is also the opposite of our best practices. Most of the best practices what we have, right, are to prevent our anti-patterns in our environment. So the anti-pattern is like in terms of security, the common mistakes we are doing in building a, let's say building a product, it's completely anonym to the best practices. Yeah, the anti-pattern is like not following MFA for the authentication, right? It's one of the anti-pattern.
Okay.
So to prevent what we have, to prevent that, we have a best practice. What is the best practice? To have a MFA for all the level of authentication. That's a best practice.
Okay.
So example of anti-pattern, not having any physical protection to our environment, to our corporate system, or uh, right, our data center. If we don't have any physical protection, that is an anti-pattern. So how to prevent the anti-pattern and what's the best practice over that? So having a security, some secure measures like biometric access to our data center, to our office, that is a best practices. So here are some common security anti-patterns as you referred. So these are the very common mistakes that we will be doing, right? Which affects our security effectiveness and increases the organizational risk. So mainly, what is our so as a cybersecurity architecture, what will be our goal? Right? To reduce the risk and to improve our organizational security posture. Okay, and the risk, right? We always meant to say reduce the risk, not eliminate the risk, because the risk exists all the time. We cannot completely 100% reduce the risk, but what we can do is we can reduce the risk. For reducing the risk, what we need to do, we need to improve our security posture. That's the the thumb rule kind of thing. Why we cannot completely eliminate the risk? There will be always possible chances that our system can get compromised. There are high chances. So what we will be doing as a security architecture, we are improving our security posture by doing the complete assessment, or doing a complete protection by implementing this uh, specialized solution implementing a specialized security program, implementing a organizational wide policies. So that way we will be improving the security posture and decreasing the organizational risk. But in case of in the anti patterns, that means some if the organizations are going with the anti patterns, that means obviously they are not following the best practices, right? If they
Mm-hmm.
if they follows the anti patterns, like skipping out the basic maintenance, skipping up your the backups, the disaster recovery, and regular patch cycles, those are the anti patterns. Second type is securing the cloud like an on-premise. So most of the organizations who migrates to the cloud are having a hybrid environment. They treats on-premise and cloud in the same manner. Their perspective is that if we have a solutions that that is protecting our on-prem environment, we can able to use the same kind of protection to the cloud also. So that's typically a wrong approach.
Mm-hmm.
And next is like wasting resources on a legacy system. So legacy system maintenance and the big very big enterprises, they will be having a organization, I mean offices across the globe, and they may need supposed to right upgrade, but for some business reasons or because of some compatibility issues or for some technological compatibility issues, they will still maintain some legacy machines. What happens if they have a legacy machines? They will be missing out the updates, they will be missing the security patching, right, the recent upgrades, and for that they need to spend a more money on that. They need to spend a more resource. There will not be there will be shortage of that particular technical technicians, right? Because of that, the company will not be having a cost effective usage from that resource, and they will be also losing the compromising their security there.
Mm.
And next is the artisan security.
Yeah, sorry, can you just go back to that one again?
Yeah. So the mitigation of the risk here is to upgrade to the latest version or latest system, right? If they are not upgrading to the latest version, what happens is they still stuck onto the legacy version. So those legacy version, the support from the vendor or support from the operating system, so the support will be reduced, which also increases the risk for the organization, security risk for the organization. So not only in terms of cybersecurity, security risk, there is more chances that they will be compromising their uh, efficiency of the resource outcomes. That's what here we are referring. If you don't have like a backups, right? It's definitely an anti-pattern, security anti-pattern. So
Mm.
what is the best practice? Having the backup regularly. So why
Yes.
do we need a backups regularly? Assuming breach, right? We assuming we may lose the data. So
That
that's
you want
is
to do, right?
yeah. For that we need to have a regular backups. Securing a cloud like on-premise. So the organizations, they are migrating, they are adding a new cloud to their on-prem, right? So most of the organization, what they do, the common mistakes they do is they will be using the same on-prem security controls to the clouds, right? That's a mistake. And as you see, like attempting to force on-prem controls, they are trying to force the on-prem control what they have to the cloud. That's one thing. And practices directly onto the cloud sources. Let's say they have some on-prem servers, right? And they have some EDR solution on their on-prem cloud servers. And on-premise, they have a server and they have a EDR. And in the cloud, in addition to the EDR, we may need to implement more security controls, because in the cloud we have a multiple servers, multiple micro container type servers, we have public IPs exposed, we have multiple SaaS based models, or what is it, multiple resources which we need to like control and protect. So we
Mhm.
need to we need to implement additional controls there.
Mhm.
The strategy whatever we have for on-prem servers, that may not work for the cloud environment. So our approach or our strategy, security strategy, we may need to update accordingly. There is a two different environment, right? On-premise environment and cloud environment.
Mhm.
So the on-premise means the data center, we have it in our own premise on premise.
Yes, yes, I understand that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Then
Mhm.
public cloud here refers to the public cloud, right?
Mhm.
The Azure, AWS, or GCP kind type of environment, right? Those are those are different from our on-prem environment, because typically what in our on-prem server, on-prem environment does has, it will having I mean, it will having a routers, it will be having the servers. The servers can be like a physical server or can be like a virtual servers, right? VMware, mostly the VMware environment we will be having. On top of it, we may have some network devices. These forms typically forms our on-prem environment. In addition to that, we will be having the end user devices, the desktops, laptops, the printers, right? This forms the mostly this forms the on-premise environment. And to protect on-premise environment, what we'll be having mostly, we will be having EDR for the devices, servers, as well as for the laptops. Then we will be having some SolarWind monitoring or some network monitoring tools, right? In addition to that, we will be having some Active Directory related solutions. So these are the common solutions we'll be using it in the on-premise. If we shift our gear to cloud, there will be all will be like virtual virtual networks, virtual servers, virtual IPs, right? All of them will be virtual. We
Yeah.
only we need to have like different approach there, and the updates in our on-prem servers, that will be different. The update strategy we will be having in cloud will be different. Similarly, we will be having a different cloud protection services from the respective cloud providers. For an example, in GCP, they will be having a security command center, which does active monitoring, active vulnerability management, and the security solutions from the cloud itself. And in typically in the Azure environment, we will be having a defender for cloud. So the defender for cloud will be having a recommendations in the terms of compliance, in terms of security updates, in terms of agent missing. If there is any defender agent missing, they will be providing information. So most all of them are like a dynamic. So whatever the security strategy you followed so far on the on-prem environment, we need to revisit, and the strategy may not apply for the same. So the artisan security, as you like as it describes, instead of following the manual solution, it will be in time sensitive. There are like a more time sensitive security operational aspects. Those areas we may need to implement automated tools, and implementing the manual efforts is not recommended, and it's one of the anti-pattern. And followed by that, we have a disconnected security approach, right? Independent security team, strategies, tech, and process of network identity, devices, etc. Which means that every organization should have a global policy, and based upon that global policy, they should define a standards and the guidelines, and the organization should strictly follow to those policies, guidelines, and standards, right? Let's say if the network team follows a different security approach, and the service desk, it follows a different security strategy, then there will be disconnection between the teams within the organization, and that may leads to confusions, and that can also leads to a risk, because there can be a severe security gaps, and that can also leads to a risk. So that's the reason we need to, right, avoid disconnected security approach. That's one of the anti-pattern. And lack of commitment to the life cycle. So
Okay.
this security, right, the security is not a sprint, but it should be like a marathon. So what I'm here referring means, like, once applying a security control to mitigate any risk, we should keep on following that in the regular basis, in a frequent manner. We should revisit them, and if it require any operational efforts, we need to put an uh, operational matrix, and we need to follow the same. If you treat them as a like a one time security control, and if you are not looking back or revisit them, it also leads to the risk. And for that, you should have a proper commitment to those security controls or security programs to avoid any risk, and that's one of the anti-pattern.